you see a sinew back bow and sinew is dried down, it's like Christmas. Boy, I love this. You know, it looks so, yeah, you know, right when you do it, right when you lay the sinew, and it's kind of that like frosting-y look and little bumpy wumpy. Wrap it, which I do. Some people don't. But there's just something, I'm going to say it, magical, you know, once the sinew dries and it becomes clear. I like this bow. It's Newell's bow. Got a little peggy there for some horsehair. And it's pretty slick. It's pretty slick. And really nice piece of Osage. Really nice piece. You know, occasionally you have to, well, I wonder if there's any internal defects or any potential hobgoblin that's going to jump out at you, but nah, not this one. No. Just kind of mildly sand it. Don't really need it, but I like it smooth. And I'm not going to do it so much that I'm going to cut through any fibers. I'm just smoothing it down. And you see there's the little traces of white there. It's when the sinew dries and it kind of pulls apart. Just like when you're pulling apart tendons to make the sinew, it's kind of on the same order. But you notice how when you hydrate them, they become clear again and it changes it. I can get rid of these little, very faint, and a big part of that, why I don't have a whole bunch of cracks and a whole bunch of like white lines in here, is when I lay it, they're not crossed. When they're crossed and they dry, they pull apart, and you'll get a lot of those lines, and you'll see them, they'll cross, and you'll see like these little spider webby things in the gaps and stuff, but this bow doesn't have it. I was very careful when I laid the sinew. So in what minor white I get, can just over and over again, just not gonna hurt it. Just like nice warm water on there, let it soak in, and you can make those lines disappear. Occasionally, you know, I'll put my tea kettle on there and I'll just very gently, like at the outer reach of the steam, not right next to the kettle, you know, just kind of run it through the steam in the steam kettle, your tea kettle, and you can get rid of those white lines. I've been toying with the idea. I've never done this before. Never done this before. You know, it's common. Mike Yancey, the master of Osage longbows, he'll rawhide back if you want, like his Medicine Man series of bows. He'll rawhide back them. You know, it gives a nice surface for painting, although this, even though there's those white lines, it's very smooth. That would be a good surface for painting. But he'll rawhide back it. It also serves as a moisture protectant. I don't know if he still does, but I was talking to Mike on the phone a while back. We used to talk a lot. Now he's probably too busy for me just to call him at, you know, 10 o'clock on a Sunday. He's always in his workshop chatting. He said he used Ultimate Floor Finish by Minwax on his sinew back bows. I tried that once. It's a good one. But you see, I dye. Yeah, I dye my bows with his arrow cresting dice. And unlike, yeah, I'm making all this noise here. Unlike Helmsman Spar urethane varnish, which you can put on a bow that's dyed with the Aerosmith dyes, is that what he calls them? Mike Yancey's arrow cresting dyes and arrow coloring dyes. Helmsman Spar urethane won't make that dye run, but Helmsman or Ultimate Floor Finish will. You know, there's nothing worse. I've got this beautiful pattern on this bow. painted and dyed, which I do, put ultimate floor finish on it, which is clear, and then have the dye run. Oh boy, that was not good. That was a misfortune. Whereas Helmsman Spar Urethane Varnish, which I like better, not only because it doesn't cause the dyes to run, you can use some of Yancey's dyes on bows, you know, have bands and all these other things. Put the Helmsman on, it doesn't cause them to run. Helmsman also darkens. I don't think, Mike probably doesn't make any. He makes 0 red oak bows. But oak is one of those things, yeah, the red oak, that benefits from that rich dark finish of Helmsman Spar Urethane Varnish. And so that's my story there. This other one, this is not a commission bow. This is like one of my favorite paint jobs. It kind of looks native, but I don't remember ever seeing that pattern on an actual real native bow. So this is kind of my interpretation. This is not, you see I've got sinew wrap there, and that's all it takes to stop the string from sliding down. I sanded there, I might not. I kind of like that. I antiqued it. This is not a commission bow. This is just my bow. And I thought at first, well, I'm going to experiment. I'm going to put rawhide over the back. But you know what? I used Yancey's arrow dye on there. I dyed the back black. And I don't want to cover that up with rawhide. I'm just kind of sanding the... See, I'm not going to do the whole handle. I just put it... kind of right there. Just to keep it from pulling out on those inside corners. And then just that. Thought about, too, painting bands. Again, native bows. A lot of them, you've got the sinew wraps there and kind of go around. Kind of lends itself to doing like a black band and then a white band. Having the tips banded, which is very much a native aesthetic. I'm in the opposites too. Sometimes I'll take a raven bow, and on this side, the raven is upright, and on this side, it's upside down. So it's kind of a spiral thing. Sometimes, a couple times, raven in black, a raven in white. The whole raven paint job will be in white here, black here. In that case, if it is opposite, white, black, raven will be right side up on this limb and upside down in this, because black and white is a spiral. See what I mean? It's kind of, whoa, I'm thinking about it. Just like pondering the meaning of the runes, which different levels, right? The base level, and you can see it in our alphabet. Our alphabet descended from the runes. There's just basic writing, making a laundry list, shopping list, using runes. And then you look at them, and it's kind of similar to Japanese, Chinese writing, Asian writing. The shapes mean something, and I'm going to think about that. And then how they're arranged, standard, 24 characters. This end, the first one to the last one, and then they go towards the middle in meaning and shape. You have 24 of them. 3 lines of 8. And even that 3 lines of 8 has an aesthetic where it's like in the center, what is in the center? Spirals. It's something to think about. I think about stuff like that. I had a comment, this is the last bit of my aesthetics as far as bows. Actually, I get a few of them. It's like they like my aesthetics. The balance, the proportions, the artwork and stuff. Well, had the luxury of having been able to make a lot of bows and being somewhat bold. If I wasn't willing, I made this bow, I spent a lot of time on it, I'm just going to put this paint scheme on there and see how it works. You have to almost go into it like a love-hate relationship. It's like, I've made this, I spent all this time on it, and I'm willing to screw it up to see what happens. You know, sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes I'll sand off the paint, which maybe scrub it off because it goes into the crevices. But you have to be willing to take a risk, and I've taken a lot of risks aesthetically and structurally, and kind of found, you know, my scheme and things. And in this one, without the paint, just the shape, if you weren't to see the colors, it's a beautiful shape. In the next one of these I do, I'll probably exactly this outline. I love the proportions of this. This is a really nice shape. I'll probably do it in black locust. Yeah, this is black locust. The right length, more or less. And not gullwing it, but just straight through here, and just not this deflex, because this deflex, it's all very subtle, curves all the way to the tips. It'll be, the curve will be very slight, just right in here, straight, just the right amount of reflex, and then boom. And then, last up, my bending forms for the handle. It's this. And the little circles for the clamps. These clamps fit in these circles. And I don't know what the radius is. If it was, need a straight edge, what it is, but it's I guess it kind of curves all the way along. And how I came up with this curve is, where is it? Well, picture this. Do I have one here? Yeah, I do. I don't know if I can bend this, but just think that this is thin enough and it's narrow enough that I can bend it easy, right? I took a piece of like Luan, this is just 1/4-inch plywood, and popped a couple of little nails in it. And the little slat of wood I used was thin enough and even, so it had a good bend. Popped a couple in the center here, and then popped a couple up here into the Luan, and just bent it. And when you have an even piece of wood, it can work like a French curve, you know. And then I just trace it. A moderate, don't go too crazy with it. And that'll be your template for then, you know, whether or not it's a recurve form. And you notice I've got a hole here. This is my saving hole. If I just stuck my tip here and then tried to clamp here, it might snap. And so I'll steam it, clamp it right here, and then steam it some more and then clamp it in the outer one. And that way it never cracks right here. Basically never cracks. I modified this by putting these holes here because I had a couple instances where it would go in and crack right here. So I've got this center one. First steam it to this, steam it some more, and then get this down here. And it kept tips from cracking. This other one, again, I just popped a couple little nails in a piece of Luan, and then took a slat of wood and just bent it, because that wood again is even in width and thickness. It'll get an even bend here. Then just trace it on a Luan, and then cut it out, and then used like a bandsaw and then sanded it and stuff like that. Pretty simple stuff. This is an example of a Luan form for my tips. And this actually, or not tips, but mid-limb bending. It has less of a bend than my handle form. And the curve is a little different in that it's a steeper curve here and then it gradually gets less of a curve here. And you can do this by having a tapered piece of wood. If you popped a couple nails in here and you had a nail here so you could like put it on your luan, you've got this wood here and then you trace it. If you have a tapered piece of wood for your French curve, you're going to get a different kind of curve out of here. In the thinner part, it's going to be more of a curve, and the thicker part, it's going to be less of a curve. It's kind of hard to do. You have to have a big sanding block. Take a slat of wood for your curve maker and then have it tapered. You have to also use your eye and be able to look. An example of using your eye is, you can see this, I'm looking at it, I can see it's a little thick here. I'll sand this Newell's bow. It still needs refinement. And I can do quite a bit of it by eye. I can see as I'm spotting down with just one eye, I need to sand it right there. I need to sand it right here. And the tip needs to be thinned a little bit. But I've got some time. This needs to dry down, cure a little bit before I can put a string on it and even get a moderate bend to do final tailoring and get it down to the correct weight. Yeah, it's exciting stuff. Next up, Will's bow, then Carlos's bow, and then, oh, look at this. This is a heavy bow. I am going to make breakfast now. It's time.